One thing that a lot of people hate to do, especially the older they get, and I can attest to this, is admit that they were wrong. Well, on today's Wrestle Juice, we're going to do exactly that because it's time for another round of Pro Wrestling I Was Wrong. I asked the friendos here at Wrestle Juice in a community thread to name one instance in pro wrestling where something happened and you thought it was going to go one way and then you were proven wrong. And I love it because so many of you responded. This is the second video I've done with the same thread. And we'll go ahead and start off right here with Pinterest Tattoo, who says, gotta be Punk going back to WWE. Given his past, I thought that he'd be the biggest problem child, but since he returned, it's been radio silence. I remember Larson over at Going in Raw being a little bit more on the Punk's gonna be trouble bandwagon than I was. I was much more of a wait and see guy, especially because Vince wasn't there any longer. I feel like, given that he recently said that he had a handshake deal with Vince McMahon back in 2019, I feel like that would have been a disaster. I don't think that would have gone well for Punk, for Vince, for the company, and I think by the time he probably would have still jumped to AEW by 2021, and then he probably wouldn't have come back. I don't know, maybe given that Triple H is there, and he seems to have a very good relationship with Triple H, it seems like they were a match made to work, at least. Not maybe in heaven, but a match made to work, creatively speaking, because there's been multiple instances now where Triple H says, or it's been reported that there's been CM Punk has gotten word that he's going to do something in creative. I think Triple H actually mentioned this, that CM Punk was told that, hey, this is the direction for creative. He's not too happy about it. And then Triple H has gone to him and been like, well, let's sit down and make sure that we're on the same page. It seems like their working relationship is pretty good. I mean, he's got to be pretty happy. He's getting paid a lot of money. And creatively speaking, he's always in that sort of top scene right there. He was the night one main event with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. So I feel like there's a couple things. Number one, Triple H seems to appreciate collaboration a lot more than Vince McMahon did. But number two, you cannot underestimate the desire for CM Punk to kind of prove everybody wrong, especially coming out of AEW, where there seemed to be a narrative that personality conflicts follow him around, or at the very least, he's responsible for getting people banned from buildings, fights are starting around him, etc., etc. And so you got to think that maybe he's thinking, you know what? I don't like this reputation that I'm sort of a drama queen. So I'm going to be on best behavior. I'm going to give this place maybe more leeway than he did in AEW, where Tony Khan hugged him and kind of just seemingly let the guy do what he wanted to do. I don't know. That's the perception that was out there. Who knows what's true, what's not true. In any event, it seems like under WWE, he's doing really, really well. Everybody's happy there. And I'd be surprised. My bet right now would be that CM Punk will get the full retirement, Hall of Fame run, all that stuff before there's anything that's so out of this world dramatic that happens with him backstage and he ends up leaving the company. I think he's going to finish WWE on his own terms, on good terms, and then he'll maybe, I don't know, start helping out on the creative aspect of things, or maybe he'll try to go full Hollywood, get a prestige show on HBO, something like that. I don't know. The Champ 0725 says AJ Styles in WWE. I was concerned he'd be buried, but he ended up being one of the longest WWE champions. Yeah, this is one I will cop to as well. When AJ Styles first signed with WWE, or when it was reported that he was going to sign with WWE, I honestly think at the time I was like, it's just sort of a TNA guy. I don't know if he's going to fit in very well here. I really wasn't into it. I don't even remember necessarily specifically why I had an issue with former TNA guys going to WWE. I don't know, man. We all learn, we all grow. But mine was the opposite direction. It was like, I don't really need to see this guy in WWE. But in the case of, who is this? The Champ. Champ was like, they're going to bury him. It seemed like they were on the verge of burying him. And then Vince was like, I need a bulldog or a pit bull or something like that. And then AJ Styles became a pit bull. It'd be cooler if they actually gave him that as a gimmick. That'd be cool. Ozzy1986 says, the list of Jericho. No one would have ever thought a pen click would get over, but it did. Au contraire, I knew that was going to get over. And I'm not just saying, oh, Steve is smart and everything, but back then, kind of everything Jericho touched was gold. Jericho, up to that point, was known for being a master of reinvention, B, kind of a master of both the serious and the comedy, which is like a great spot to be in professional wrestling. The silly list, as soon as he did it, I remember thinking back, and I don't know how old you are, Ozzy, but maybe you were born in 1986, in which case maybe you would have remembered the list of moves, the list of submissions that Jericho had when he was in a feud with Dean Malenko, and he had this giant list, and he was all these submission holds that he was an expert at, and he spent an entire commercial break reading this thing, and half of them were rest holds and headlocks. It was arm bar, that's what it was. Arm drag, arm bar, the moss-covered three-handled family gradunzel, arm bar. Saskatchewan spinning nerve hold, body slam. Yeah, that was funny stuff. Jericho was great. He could do the comedy shit, man. He was really good. I knew that pen would get over. Dad Schoolboy says the Undertaker as a gimmick had 1,000,001 reasons to flop hard. Imagine a wrestling mortician. It would have been dead on arrival if another person played the gimmick, but Mark Calloway was just destined to do that. Yeah, sometimes the right gimmick just completely, absolutely works. I like the story behind it, where Mark Calloway is at home and he knows that he's going to be getting a call from Vince McMahon, and then he gets a call, and then it's just Vince, and he just launches into it. He says, "Is the Undertaker there?" And Mark Calloway immediately was like, "Fuck it, yeah, man, I'm the Undertaker. I ain't never going back to WCW, so I guess I'll be the Undertaker." And he killed it with that gimmick. Here's the thing about this I think this is my theory on that. Anything that's sort of gothy will work. All right, look at Raven, for example, right? The name based off of an Edgar Allan Poe poem, book. I don't know which one it is. I think it's just a poem, the Nevermore shit. I know he's more kind of grunge in appearance maybe, but he had kind of a gothy feel to him. The Brood, Edge and Christian, Gangrel, right? They're gothy. They hella worked. Paige definitely came off as a goth chick, the goth thing, I think it's just cool. It just works. You can always rely on that. And then, of course, you get somebody with the talents of a Mark Calloway, both physically and just his imposing look. Yeah, no, that absolutely works. I understand what you're saying here. If Mark Calloway had debuted in a different kind of vocational gimmick, like, I don't know, what's another one, fry guy, a fry bagging guy. That ain't going to work. You can't do that, but I don't know, maybe he would have pulled it off. But the goth thing always works. Jordy Superkick says Cody losing at WrestleMania 39 has to top the list. Man, oh man. Every episode I feel like we're going to have another Cody take. Because in the last one, it was Cody going to WWE, right? Oh, he's just going to be a mid-carder. Now, at WrestleMania 39, Cody losing to Roman Reigns and everybody being like, he's finished. What are they going to do now? They're going to go to do another WrestleMania. Everybody knows what he's going to do, and he's going to go in mid-card. Who's going to do it? Everybody concerned about that. And they almost had to push for a third year because The Rock showed up for WrestleMania 40. In any event, yeah, him losing at 39, that was a shocker. God damn it, that was a shocker. I remember my good friend, the Enforcer, when we were doing predictions challenges back then, he picked on accident Cody Rhodes to win. It was an accident. And then he ended up winning predictions. Oh, that was a great moment. But yeah, I think a lot of people, even up until the WrestleMania build for the next year, people were still like, it's not the same. They should have done it last year. And in fact, they booked one of the best WrestleMania finishes of all time. And so, yeah, they really did kind of know what they were doing then. I feel like they still kind of know what they're doing. SummerSlam will be interested in Cody getting that title back. See if that happens. I assume it will, but you never know. Anyways, let me know where you guys got wrong in the comments below. We'll do this again next week because this is a lot of fun, and I got a ton more over here. But right now we're sitting at 11 minutes, and I think that's a good amount of time for a video. I got to run to the farmer's market because there's a dude who sells some like cuisine that he makes, and it's like all these North African recipes, and it's like, God damn, I don't know how to do this. I don't know where to. I don't even know where the guy's shop is, but he shows up at the farmer's market across the street once a week. I don't know what I'm gonna do when the summertime ends and the farmer's market goes away. Where am I gonna find this guy? I should ask him when I go today. Where is your shop located?